They found him at dawn, his corpse drifting beneath the palace cistern's black surface, limbs stiff, eyes wide, mouth still frozen in the shape of a scream. The emperor, who once mocked priests and defied saints, was gone. But his death was no mercy. It was a killing designed to break him slowly, to make his body a message. Michael III had ruled Byzantium with a drunkard's confidence and a fool's arrogance. He was born into silk and arrogance, yet drowned himself in wine and sin. His nights were feasts of laughter and blasphemy. He mocked the sacred liturgy by dressing pigs in priestly robes, and his banquets lasted until dawn, rooms thick with incense, sweat, and spilled wine. He forgot that the empire was full of men who never forgot humiliation. One of those men was Basil the Macedonian. A peasant who clawed his way to the emperor's side, Basil served as Michael's groom, then as his brother-in-arms, then, finally, as his co-emperor. He ate from the same table, shared the same mistresses, and smiled through the same lies. But friendship in Byzantium was only ever a mask. Basil's love for power turned to hatred for the man who still sat above him. He feared exposure of his affair with Eudokia Ingurina, the emperor's mistress. He feared losing everything if Michael ever sobered long enough to notice betrayal. And so, with a calm heart and a servant's grace, he planned the death of the man who called him brother. It began with wine, the emperor's favorite poison. The villa at St. Mama's shimmered with candlelight that night. Servants poured goblets, jesters performed, and Michael laughed until tears streamed down his face. Basil sat beside him, quiet, calculating, a silver cup in hand. Inside it, powdered aconite and crushed henbane, a venom both numbing and excruciating. When Michael drank, the wine tasted normal, sweet, heavy with spice. But within minutes, the poison awoke in his gut like fire. His laughter faltered. He clutched at his throat. The first pain came as a burning in the stomach, then a twisting so fierce he doubled over, spilling wine down his robes. Servants rushed to help, but Basil's gaze froze them in place. Michael's skin turned pale, then flushed dark. His pulse quickened to a frantic rhythm as the poison ripped through him. His vision blurred, and a thick foam began to gather at the corners of his mouth. He vomited violently, blood and bile splattering the floor, the stench of acid filling the room. But the venom was designed not to kill swiftly. It clawed through him like iron hooks dragged along his inside. His screams grew hoarse. His hands clawed at the air, seeking the face of his betrayer. "Brother," he croaked, "help me." Basil knelt beside him, holding him as though comforting him. In truth, he pressed his hand against the emperor's chest, feeling the spasms beneath his palm, the heart fighting in vain. The poison caused every muscle to seize, tendons pulling taut until his body arched backward unnaturally. His fingernails tore against the marble floor, leaving streaks of red. The emperor's eyes rolled back as blood vessels burst across his face and neck. He coughed again, each gasp bringing more blood. But Basil would not allow death to come too soon. He whispered to the guards, and they lifted Michael's convulsing form, dragging him through the corridor. His cries echoed against the mosaic walls, pleading, strangled, then weak. The air grew colder as they descended into the cistern beneath the villa, a vaulted chamber of stone and shadow, where stagnant water reflected torchlight like liquid bronze. The guards threw him onto the damp floor. His limbs twitched, his breathing rattled. Still alive, though barely. His lips moved in prayer, or in curses. Basil stepped forward. "End it," he said. The guards hesitated. Michael had been an emperor, but fear won over loyalty. They forced his head beneath the water. He thrashed once, violently, his poisoned body convulsing against their grip. The water churned with blood and bile, splashing across the stone. His lungs filled slowly, each reflexive gasp pulling water deeper. His eyes widened, staring upward through the black surface, the torchlight above him dissolving into gold ripples. The body fought long after the mind had given up. His chest heaved against the pressure. His nails scraped the guard's wrists. His feet kicked, striking the stones with hollow thuds. And then, the final stillness. Only bubbles rose, popping quietly in the silence. When they released him, his body floated to the surface, his hair fanning in the water like seaweed. The torchlight flickered across his face, blue lips, open eyes, and veins dark beneath translucent skin. Basil stared at him for a long time before turning away. "Seal the cistern," he ordered. By morning, the empire had a new ruler. Basil emerged to the court draped in royal purple, claiming that Michael had died of a drunken collapse. The servants bowed, the priests chanted, and the people whispered. They said the emperor had choked on his own sins. They said Basil had drowned him as punishment from God. But in truth, it was human cruelty, methodical, patient, and absolute. The palace servants later told of strange sounds from below, soft ripples, echoes like a breath beneath the stones. Some swore the cistern water never went clear again, that it stayed faintly red no matter how often it was drained. The drowned emperor had become part of the palace itself, a reminder that in Byzantium, power was never inherited. It was taken by force, sealed by blood, and drowned in silence. Basil's rule brought wealth and glory, but also guilt. He built churches, commissioned icons, and spoke of divine forgiveness. Yet those who served him said he never drank wine again. He claimed it tasted of iron. Michael's death was more than an assassination. It was a slow, ritual unmaking. Poison to burn his body from within, water to choke what remained of his breath. A perfect Byzantine execution, half sacrament, half warning. In the empire of intrigue and faith, betrayal was not a sin. It was survival. And as the last bubbles rose in the cistern that night, Byzantium learned a terrible truth. Every emperor's crown was forged from another man's drowning breath. Would you have trusted the man who poured your wine? Tell me your thoughts below. And if you thought this story was horrifying, wait until you hear about hung by his ribs on iron hooks. The brutal martyrdom of Saint Symphorian. Gaul, 2nd century.